All right, so we just talked about that open pavilion and the restrictions that Mother Nature has imposed with wind shear and wind load, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to move over here. We're going to talk about some other aspects of the building. But one of the things that I really like about that is you have the positive space of the building, but you have the juxtaposition of that negative space that is the pavilion, that they really work well in concert. So that as I come around the building here, a couple things of note. Notice the nice 3-foot overhang. That was intentionally built in. It does a couple things for us. One, it basically keeps all the rainwater off of my doors. So what's the best water management system? Don't let them see water, right? 3-foot overhang, that displacement, the top of those doors will never see water unless you're down here hosing off the wall, right? So you get that 3-foot overhang. Now, aesthetically, you get the nice shadow line of it, but we also get the ability to line it with some lights. So when you're out here throwing that evening pool party, we get some nice accent lighting to set the atmosphere along that 3-foot overhang. As we come over here, you'll notice that we finish off this corner with another set of small negative space. It's picked up, we have the column there, we have a little indentation here, and that's intentional. So when you're at the house and you're approaching the pool house, it starts with negative space on the left, moves to positive space, that's the building, and then finishes with the negative space that is the pavilion. Now, that's all intentional. That allows us to get, an aesthetically beautiful building. So we get this overhang. A couple other things to point out here. One, you notice we have this beam line. Well, the beam line there transfers to the same size as the head casing down the wall here. But you'll notice as it turns the corner, it also becomes the beam line along that open pavilion. So it was intentional when I laid out the drawings, and we could talk about that when we hit the drafting table, about how all of that lined up. But it's intentional so that when you walk up, again, things feel like they're in order. Things were designed with intent and built with intent. So the last thing, this beautiful siding. It's a Boral siding. We talked about Boral. Go check out my IBS video. I went to their booth. We talked about it there. But this is an 8-inch sloped bevel. You notice it has the slope there. Why slope? What's our first rule of water management? Down and out. I've actually grabbed a couple pieces, and you can see that profile of the down and out. And then it also has a little lapping lip, at the end here. Well, that lapping lip, I grab another piece here, that allows that next piece to sit nicely right over the top of it. So just like our roof shingles, all of our wall cladding is now shedding water. And we have that slope channel there. For aesthetics, it's a nice pleasing look because you get that look, but more importantly, it's going to allow the building and siding to last a mighty long time because it doesn't allow itself to get challenged by water. It gets rid of it as fast as we can. Kudos to the painter out here. He did a beautiful job. Kudos to Christina with Christina Creston Design. She picked the blue color. I absolutely love it. Things are growing great out here at the pool house. Let's jump over to the drafting table and we'll wrap this one up. Hey everybody, welcome back. So we took a nice tour on the outside of the pool house there. We talked about some negative space, some positive space. We talked about that beautiful big overhang there and how it accentuates the building, sets those windows back, provides some protection, does a whole bunch of things, makes it look good, but perform even better. So one of the things that I'd wanted to talk about that we probably can't talk enough about when we're talking about building is water management. So I have the building section here through that section with the big overhang, and we're going to just talk about some little rules of thumb and tidbits about water management here. So as you can see, here's that building section. Here is that overhang. I know in the video I said it was 3 feet or so, 3 foot plus, but it's actually 3.5 feet. So it's a pretty sizable overhang. It provides some nice protection from rain as far as the doors and that getting challenged with any rainwater. Now, if you talk to Brian up there, the builder, he'll tell you there's days where, yeah, the rain is near horizontal up there with the way the wind blows. But for the most part, you know, good overhangs. I don't think you can get enough of them on a building. Keep that water away. Remember what we talked about when we talked about water management. We talked about it in that first video with the control layers and water management. And our number one rule when it comes to water is down and out. Let it fall, use gravity to our advantage, and then get rid of it as fast as we possibly can. So in this case here, where our drip line is pretty far out, we might get some residual water coming onto the inside, but we have a provision. We have a drain there just inside by the door that will take that water and whisk it away out to the low ground. The beauty of this pool house is it's up on a hill, so getting out to daylight is a pretty quick event. Anywhere around this pool house, it's really not that big of a structure. So, but let's talk about that overhang a little bit. One of the keys to a good overhang and non-leaky windows or doors is the relationship of the overhang to what I would call the head height, which is basically the distance of the soffit to the top of the window or door, right? Now, there's a lot of people out there that say, yeah, eventually all windows and doors will leak. I guess if you go long enough in time, that's probably a true statement. But the one thing that I like to come back with is that only the windows and doors that I let see water will be challenged and will leak. Right? So if I can keep water away and keep that bulk water away, especially from the head of the window. And, you know, later on, maybe I'll do a couple series on window installs and window testing and all of that. But the short little tidbit here is years ago, I traveled around the country. We did a bunch of flashing testing on windows, and most windows and doors predominantly leak at the head, and then the water, you know, migrates and finds its way down. And if the sill doesn't have provision to kick that water out, then the water migrates in, swells up your hardwood floor, or just wreaks havoc on the inside of drywall underneath the windows, etc., etc. But in this case here, these are full height patio doors. You saw them out there. So this XY dimension. Now, typically, I think the minimum for that would be, you know, X equals Y. That's an okay solution. 2X against Y is a better solution. And in this case here, where our Y is 4 inches and this is 42, then we're at about 10X versus that Y dimension, right? So that's a really good number, but like I said, I at least strive for equality, or my favorite one would probably be the 2X equals Y, unless I can get in conditions where I can get 3X, 4X, 5X, etc., etc. But the 2X is about as low as I would like to go. So we're 10 here. So I would consider that very nice. And the nice thing is that our chances of getting water in that 4 inches, even with a horizontal or near horizontal rain, it's, I would say, almost nil to get water in against those doors. So they're very well protected. We have that nice big overhang there. We can have some lights in there and get some nice atmosphere type light to set us up for those really nice, evening pool parties there, splashing that light down across those beautiful sliding glass doors. But let's take a look on the other side and see what we have here, because on the back side of the house, we didn't quite have a need to go so large because we don't have the atmosphere. This is the back of the building, but you can still see we have 18 inches there, and we have roughly our 4 inches. So we're somewhere around 4X on the back side. So that's still double of what my typical rule of thumb is there. So even on the back side, I think that's really good. you know, you can't do enough to keep water out of a building. And, you know, these little rules of thumb, these are things that I live by. All the buildings I do, I make sure that, you know, we're at least getting up to that 2x, hopefully the 4x plus. But there's no substitute for a really good roof overhang, in my opinion. But anyways, I just wanted to run that by you. You know, that pool house is coming along really well. The gents out at Howell Custom Building are just doing a phenomenal job. Brian, who is the project super out there on site, he's doing a phenomenal job pulling this all together. You can see the thing is near completion, coming along really well. Christina Creston, the interior designer, she's worked on the interiors there. She actually picked the color for the outside, that polo blue. Absolutely beautiful color. Place is coming along well. There's years and years ahead of good times poolside up there. So hope you enjoyed this video. I suggest, you know, I have a bunch of them up there. If you haven't seen some of the previous ones, go back. I'm trying to get you guys some good information out there. And likewise, I have my colleagues Matt, Jake, Brent, and Wade all throwing up superb content on there every week. You're getting something. So people are always asking, where can I find information? Where can I find information on this stuff? Well, here you go. We have a whole network where we're providing that good information. So go check it out. And until next time, long live our buildings.